Hey guys, my name is Funparo. Itemizing on EP champions can be difficult or confusing at times because there are so many items in the game that can give you ability power. And what you want to do is find the one that will be the most beneficial to you. That could be being able to protect you more by giving you more defensive stats, or just finding an item that will give you outright more damage. In this video, I will help you find the items that will give you the most damage by comparing Demonic Embrace and Void Staff. I'll help you find the HP thresholds needed to aid you in picking the more powerful item. So now let's go right into Demonic Embrace and Void Staff and the stats and what it takes to build these items. So Demonic Embrace costs 3,000 gold and is made up of a Blasting Wand, Giant Spell, and an Amplifying Tome. In terms of stats, you get 70 ability power and 350 health. And the passive on Demonic Embrace is Azekana's Gaze, which is ability damage in terms of a total of 4.8% of their maximum health as total magic damage over the span of 4 seconds. And at the same time, you'll get bonus armor and bonus magic resistance while they're affected by this passive. Now Void Staff gives you about similar stats. It gives you 70 ability power and 40% magic penetration. In terms of what it takes to build this item, it is made up of a Blighting Jewel and a Blasting Wand, and will cost 2,700 gold in total to build Void Staff. So in order to find the HP thresholds needed, we have to create an equation to calculate the damage, which also compares the variables of magic resistance, damage, and HP. So, I have created two equations here, one of Demonic and one for Void. So, for Demonic Embrace, you first have to apply the magic resistance. So what I did was I multiply the second part of my equation by 100 over 100 plus MR. And what that does is find the damage reduction due to magic damage. And then you multiply that fraction by 0.048x, which is the percentage converted to a decimal, plus the damage that your ability is going to be doing. And then for Void Staff, it's pretty similar, except we have to consider the fact that it's Magic Pen. So if you don't know how Magic Pen works, when you have flat Magic Pen, for example, it will help you damage the target as if the magic resistance on the enemy was reduced by this X amount, and X is the flat Magic Pen that you have. So here it's a percentage on Void Staff, so that's why you see a 0.6 here in the equation. So the equation would be 100 over 100 plus 0.6 MR, and that whole fraction multiplied by damage, and that'll get you the Void Staff damage equation. So now let's look at some examples. So here we have a squishy case where we have a level 9 Lucian, which is the point where he can max one of his abilities, and you'll have 33.37 base MR. So we're going to use Fiddlesticks as the target who's damaging the Lucian, and we'll use Fiddlesticks E. And Fiddlesticks E at max rank, with only having Demonic Embrace or Void Staff, because they both give 70 ability power, will do 245 damage to a target with 0 MR. But we apply the equation, we plug in the 33.37 as the MR value, we plug in 245 to the damage value, and then what we get is that X, which is max HP, has to be greater than or equal to 567.65 max HP, which is pretty low. If you consider the fact that level 9, most champions probably nowhere near this, they probably have a little over 1,000 HP. But to put this more into perspective, I will give you the numbers on Demonic and Void Staff separately, so you guys can see this for yourself. So same Lucian we have, level 9 Lucian with a 33.37 base MR, and at level 9 using base HP, and we're not using runes that will give you HP or items, you'll have 1150.64 max HP as your base stats. And we're still using the same Fiddlesticks E with the Demonic or Void Staff, which is 245 damage, because the Demonic or Void Staff adds 70 ability power to your total ability power. So when you plug this into the equation of Demonic and Void Staff, Demonic Embrace will be doing 225 damage, or approximately 225 damage, and Void Staff will do approximately 204 damage. So as you can see, Demonic Embrace does do more damage than Void Staff, and 1150.64 max HP is greater than the 567 HP value that we had before, which was the threshold needed for Demonic Embrace to exceed Void Staff in terms of damage. So now let's look at a tankier case. So let's consider an enemy who has an Abyssal Mask and Force of Nature, and we're going to say this targets an Ornn. And Ornn at level 12, which is usually the time when you would have maybe 2 items, and including base MR, you'll have a total of 164.31 magic resistance. And we'll still use the same damage values of Fiddlesticks with only Demonic or Void Staff, and that'll be 245 damage. So if we apply all these values into our equation, where we plug in 164.31 into MR and we plug in 245 for damage, we'll get an inequality where X has to be greater than or equal to 1689.27 max HP. And that is the threshold needed for Demonic Embrace to do more damage than Void Staff to Ornn. So to put this into more perspective or into more context, we're going to go into the damage Demonic and Void we'll do separately. So the enemy, same enemy, Abyssal Mass, Force of Nature, total MR 164.31. But now we're going to apply the max HP that a target would have by adding the base HP plus Abyssal Mask HP and Force of Nature HP. And altogether we'll get 2275 max HP. So now what we do is we use the same Fatal 60 damage, 245 damage, and plug this into the Demonic equation. For the Demonic Embrace equation, we'll get 134 damage, for approximately 134 damage. And for Void Staff, we'll get approximately 123.37 damage. So as you can see, Demonic will do more damage when the target has greater than 1689.27 HP, in this case where they have 164.31 or MR. But that's still pretty low considering the fact that Ornn's a tank, and like having 1689 HP is pretty low in terms of a threshold. So I think we can draw some conclusions from this. Generally, Demonic Embrace is usually better to get before Void Staff, but obviously you can use this equation that I will provide you here to implement into your own games and help you find trends in your own games to see which will provide you more damage by applying MR or applying damage as well to find the HP thresholds needed. But obviously, looking at the trends, we can see that Demonic Embrace second usually does more damage than Void Staff. So I could say that usually Demonic's better, but obviously you don't want to default to this. Make sure you think about what you're doing. But I would say usually in most squishy cases, Demonic would do more. And then in more tankier cases, Demonic is still usually better, but there are obviously maybe a few exceptions. But this is not to say that you can only buy one of these items. You can still buy both items and get both of their effects. So you can use this equation yourself in your own games and help you see results in terms of doing more damage and more. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure to comment down below what you would like to see next. So thank you guys for watching and have a great day.